I was working the front desk at a hotel in Amsterdam when an American man checked in and immediately asked where he could rent a car. I explained that most people in the city either bike or use trams because the city center really doesn't require cars. He stared at me like I'd suggested he ride a horse. "That's ridiculous," he said. "How do people get groceries? How do they go to work?" I told him bikes handle groceries fine, and most people live close to their jobs or take public transit. He shook his head. "In America, we value independence. That's why we have cars. You really need more parking lots." I reminded him that Amsterdam was built in the 1600s, long before cars existed. He paused, then said, "Well, you've had plenty of time to modernize." He rented a car anyway and came back 3 hours later, utterly defeated, asking if we validated parking. We didn't even have parking. I track this kind of cross-cultural logic daily so you don't have to. Most channels share opinions. I archive behavior. If that distinction makes sense, you already belong here. The next day, a woman asked why our address didn't have a zip code. I explained we use postal codes in the Netherlands. She said that was confusing and asked if I could convert it to a zip code for her Amazon delivery. I told her international mail doesn't work that way. Amazon delivers same day in America, she argued. They should figure it out. That was just Tuesday. I was working as a pharmacist in Oslo when an American tourist came in asking for Advil. I told him we had ibuprofen, which is exactly the same. He frowned. "No, I need Advil specifically. It's the only thing that works for me." I explained that Advil is just a brand name for ibuprofen. He Googled it on his phone, read for a moment, then triumphantly said, "See? It says here ibuprofen is the generic version." "I don't want generic," he insisted. "I want the real thing." I told him in Norway, medications are sold mostly by their actual drug names, not brand names. He asked if that was legal. I said yes, I'm a licensed pharmacist. "Are Norwegian pharmacy licenses recognized internationally?" he asked. I pointed to my degree on the wall. He squinted. "It's in Norwegian. How do I know it's real?" I suggested he call the Norwegian Health Authority. "Do they speak English?" he asked. Most people scroll past this kind of field work. Subscribers? They're collecting real-time cross-cultural case studies. It's not commentary, it's anthropology with a sense of humor. He bought the ibuprofen but said he'd be monitoring his symptoms closely to make sure it was real. I was at a train station in Prague when an American asked why his credit card wouldn't work at the ticket machine. His card didn't have a chip. I told him he needed a chip card or could buy a ticket at the counter. My bank said the magnetic stripe works everywhere, he argued. That's true in America, but Europe uses chip technology, I explained. He insisted, America invented credit cards, so your system should work with mine. I explained that chip cards are more secure and standard across Europe. If they're so secure, why doesn't America use them? He asked. I didn't have an answer. He tried swiping harder. I told him it wouldn't help. Then he asked if I could manually type in the card number. I explained that's not how ticket machines work. He paid cash but asked for a receipt in case this is a scam. The ticket cost $2. At a post office in Berlin, an American woman wanted to mail a package to Ohio. I told her it would cost €45. She gasped. That's outrageous. I explained it was international shipping, heavy, crossing an ocean. In America, shipping across the country cost maybe $15, she said. I explained Germany's rates are different and we use euros, not dollars. She suggested we should accept dollars because they're stronger. I told her that's not how currency works. She wanted to speak to the postmaster. I explained I was the supervisor. She asked if there was an American post office nearby, maybe on a military base. Military mail is for personnel only. She asked if she could become military just for cheaper shipping. I said no. She left, promising to email the embassy about price gouging. I was guiding a museum in Tokyo when An American man interrupted to ask why the signs were in Japanese. I reminded him we were in Japan. He said major museums should have English as the main language. I pointed out English translations under every sign. "They're too small," he said. I offered a pamphlet. He waved it off, saying American museums don't make you read extra materials. I explained that in Japan, Japanese is the main language. English is a courtesy. He complained about inefficiency and said American architects would have made it more accessible. A British tourist asked him to be quiet. He said he was just helping improve things. I was at a rural gas station in France when an American pulled up and asked for $20 of gas. I explained we sell by liters, not gallons, and in euros. He grumbled but agreed. When the total came to 63 euros, he was furious. In France, we fill the tank unless told otherwise. He said I should know American customs. I told him common sense varies by country. He paid, asking for the owner's contact. I told him I was the owner's son. In Sydney, an American asked for a thermometer showing Fahrenheit. I showed one with both Celsius and Fahrenheit. He wanted one with only Fahrenheit. "Why doesn't Australia use the normal scale?" he asked. I explained Celsius is standard globally. He argued that America is bigger. I told him billions of people use Celsius. He didn't believe me but bought it anyway, muttering about everything upside down. I reminded him gravity still works. In Toronto, an American patient wanted to pay cash for a doctor visit. I told him visits cost $200 Canadian dollars. He put down $150 United States dollars, thinking it would cover it. It didn't, he argued. I explained exchange rates. He still didn't get it but paid, asking for an IRS receipt. I reminded him the IRS doesn't care about Canadian visits. At Singapore's border, an American was confused about the entry card. He questioned why we needed his hotel. I explained it's standard procedure. He wanted to write any hotel name. I said no, we verify. He was shocked but complied. In Stockholm, an American man asked why milk wasn't refrigerated. I explained it was UHT milk, shelf-stable until opened. He insisted it was fake or expired. I showed him the ingredients, just milk. He left, warning another customer that the milk wasn't refrigerated. If watching these cultural collisions makes you laugh while questioning reality, that's exactly the point. I break down these misunderstandings weekly. Logic is local. Common sense only travels so far. Somewhere right now, an American is arguing with a German that Fahrenheit is better because the numbers are bigger. I was working at a cafe in Vienna when an American customer asked for a regular coffee. I asked what kind he meant, espresso, lungo, or cappuccino. He looked confused and said, "Just normal coffee." I explained that espresso is the standard here. He sighed and said Americans need larger cups because they have real mornings. He ordered a double espresso, took one sip and asked if we could dilute it with hot water, so it tastes less European. I was staffing a hotel reception in Barcelona when an American guest called down to complain that the restaurant wasn't open for dinner at 5:30 p.m. I explained that dinner service starts at 8. He asked how families survive eating that late. I told him children adapt. He said that sounded unhealthy and asked if we could open the kitchen early just for him. We could not. He ordered room service and asked why the portions were so small for a country that eats so late. I was working at a clothing store in Milan when an American asked why our sizes ran so small. I explained that European sizing is different. He said that sounded like an excuse and asked if we had normal sizes in the back. I told him those were the normal sizes. He asked who decided that. I said the fashion industry. He said that made sense because fashion isn't practical. He left without buying anything but said he'd mention it in his review. I was at a public restroom in Copenhagen when an American asked why there was no attendant and no tip jar. I explained that public toilets are maintained by the city. He asked how they stay motivated without tips. I told him it's a salaried job. He looked genuinely unsettled and said, So no one's working for kindness here? I told him they were working for wages. He said that felt less personal. I was working at a bakery in Paris when an American asked if the croissants were fresh. I said yes, baked that morning. He asked what time. I told him 6 a.m. He said that was too early to count as fresh, and asked if we had any from later in the day. I explained that bakeries don't rebake croissants every few hours. He nodded slowly and said America really has better customer service. I was helping at a library in Dublin when an American asked where the self-help section was. I pointed him to the psychology aisle. He asked where the books on success were. I said those were mixed throughout different categories. He said they should all be together because success is universal. I told him it depends on culture. He laughed and said success is the same everywhere. You just work harder.